Hey, what's up guys, it's Deathstalker Synchro here with another Monster Hunter World video. And today, I'm going to help you figure out what weapon you relate to the most. There are more batshit crazy weapons in Monster Hunter World than you can count on both hands. 4 swords, 3 ranged weapons, 2 lances, a glaive, a hammer, 2 transformers, and we can't forget everyone's favorite musical mallet. 14 to be exact. Despite what others tell you, each one is very powerful in its own way. If you want to see a further breakdown of all the weapons, keep an eye on the top right corner of your screen for links to the video breakdowns and gameplay. Though if any Monster Hunter veterans are watching, then please do drop any tips you have down for your fellow hunters. I'm sure they'll appreciate your insight into the weapons. But enough about that. Let's get started with them. First up is the Sword and Shield, or SNS. Considered by many as the most beginner-friendly weapon, don't take this thing lightly. If I had to describe the Sword and Shield in one word, it wouldn't be easy or beginner. It'd be versatility. As the name suggests, the weapon sports both a small sword and shield. While not the best shield in the game when it comes to guarding, it still proves to be a valuable asset. Sword attacks are fast and relentless with great recovery. They do lower damage per hit than many other melee weapons in the game, but the speed more than makes up for it, especially when trying to inflict damage with the elements or status effects. Oh, and the shield isn't only for defense. When you want to get nice and disrespectful, throw in a couple shield bashes to your combos for some blunt damage. The Sword and Shield is a jack of all trades, master of none. Great all across the board in attack speed, mobility, recovery, and utility, thanks in addition to the ability to use the slinger or items while unsheathed. So pick up this clever pair if you prefer to have access to as many tools and form as damage as possible. Second, we have the Longsword, or LS. While not as fast as Sword and Shield, this weapon has greater reach and attacks of higher damage. Moderate in speed, the Longsword's attacks are a mix of wide sweeps and far-reaching thrust. This weapon doesn't come with any form of guarding, but you can easily roll out of your combos, use the phase slash to reposition, or even get really stylish and use the highly evasive foresight slash. Dealing damage with the Longsword builds the spirit gauge, a small bar found right below your health and stamina. You then spend some of this gauge to use the stronger spirit attacks. For every time you hit with the last spirit attack of the combo, you'll upgrade the spirit gauge. Each time further increasing your overall attack damage and enabling you to use the most stylish of moves, the Helmbreaker. Looks can be deceiving, but the Longsword is an elegant, honest weapon. What you see is what you get. A Longsword that in skilled hands will make short work of any monster as the fight progresses. The proper utilization of the spirit gauge and spirit attacks is key for maximizing your damage, but remember you'll have to be quick with those rolls as guarding isn't an option. If you fancy yourself or aspire to be a skilled swordsman, then you're going to love the Longsword. I honestly can't help but feel the same right this way. Third on our list of weapons is the biggest of swords, the Greatsword, or GS. Perhaps you were really liking the previous weapons, but they were missing something. They just weren't enough sword for you. You can't expect those blue things to satisfy you, no. You need something big, bigger, with enough destructive power to leave no surviving man, monster, able to walk straight again. So I present to you the Greatsword. Without a doubt, this weapon has the highest damage per strike in the game. This is a large and heavy weapon, and as such, it will be slow. At its core, the Greatsword is a basic and easy weapon to use with a little patience. Single-button inputs to string together a combo, a decent guard, and despite its size and weight, you can roll when needed. But the true power shines in the charge attacks. Holding down your standard attack button charges the blow, but if you perfectly time the release with the flashing stations of your charge, you'll pull out even more damage. Use caution though. While charging, you will be immobile and vulnerable, so it does require careful timing and positioning, but when a charge attack hits, it hurts. I don't know whether the great in this weapon's name is for damage, size, or weight, but if you're looking for hitting things as hard as possible, this is your weapon. Find the right time and place before a charge attack, and your victim won't last a minute. Not a fan of heavy weapons? then you're gonna love the fourth one on our list, the Dew Blades, or DB. You want speed? Look no further. The fastest weapon in the game. Damage per hit may be low, but the onslaught attacks from the Dual Blades more than makes up for it. Combos with the Dual Blades look exactly as they are. A relentless flurry of slashes and cuts great for elementals. The lack of a guard shouldn't concern you in the slightest, as the Dual Blades have a strong dodge property, allowing you to dance around the monster even while still attacking. And I haven't even got to the best part. Demon Mode. As the name suggests, this is an alternative mode activated manually. Demon Mode grants you increased damage, makes you immune to knockback, and gives you access to more powerful moves like the Demon Dance. But this does come at a cost, as Demon Mode can be taxing on stamina. Dealing damage in Demon Mode will in return build your Demon Gauge. Once filled, you enter Arc Demon Mode, increasing your attack even more and giving you access to some more powerful moves outside of Demon Mode. The Dew Blades are short in range and low in damage, but aggressive, fast, and oftentimes unstoppable. You have to keep an eye on your stamina, but the Demon and Arc Demon modes are powerful tools that should not be ignored. Any speed demon, no pun intended, will instantly fall in love with this weapon, myself included. Nearly halfway through with number 5, the Insect Glaive, or IG. While we're still on the weapons of high mobility, we need to talk about this Insect Glaive. It's a fast, agile attacker with decent range. The damage output of the attack is nothing impressive, but a deeper understanding of the weapon will show you its true strength. Part of this is in its very well-known capability in the air. Thanks in part to its vault move, the Insect Glaive can launch hunters into the air with it free to dash and attack. This also makes it quite easy to mount the monster. Without a doubt, the cool aerial moves and mountain are useful both in solo and multiplayer hunts, but a skilled glaive wielder will know the right time and place for these. That's where the other half of the Insect Glaive comes in. That large bug on the hunter's wrist is a Kinsect, a supportive and powerful addition to the Insect Glaive. Send this little guy in to attack the monster. Each successful attack will leave behind dust that'll explode when hit by the Insect Glaive. The effect of the explosion varies by the Kinsect, and yes, there are multiple types you can get. When the Kinsect attacks, it also gathers essence. Recall the Kinsect will deliver the essence to the glaive and bestow a temporary buff on the hunter, depending on the color. A little bit of management is needed with the Insect Glaive, as it's strong on stamina consumption. The Kinsect itself also has stamina that has to be watched, but don't let this discourage you. Sweet aerial moves, a cute commandable insect companion, and constant mounts to annoy your friends with. It's hard not to love the Insect Glaive. Learn to use this weapon properly, and you'll look like the Lord of the Beast you've always dreamed of. Alright, it's time to move into the heavyweight class. Starting with the Hammer, or HM. Ever took to being called a savage or barbarian as a compliment? Or perhaps when the monster roars at you, you roar back before knocking into next week. That got your blood going? Then the Hammer's your kind of weapon. Don't let the size of this blunt club fool you. Hammer-wielded hunters still retain their mobility. The Hammer is an absolutely brutal weapon with high damage output and is perhaps the easiest weapon to knock down a monster with. Basic combos consist of bashing, pounding, smashing, crushing, and, well, hammering the monster's face in. But a lot of power in the Hammer's kit is behind charging your attacks for even more savage blows. There are 3 levels of charge, and while the third can give you the most destructive power, you should know the first 2 have their own powerful moves that should not be ignored. Speaking of not ignoring moves, don't forget to perform a power charge. This quick move done while charging will increase your stun damage, give you more powerful moves, and make you uninterruptible during charging and swinging. Unlike the Greatsword, you can move freely while charging the Hammer. In my opinion, the Hammer is one of the most satisfying weapons, especially with the way it dominates monsters. So if you like the idea of pounding in a dragon's face, definitely give this weapon a go. Not a Hammer kind of person? Okay. So maybe you consider yourself more of a lover of fine arts. Not plunging in a monster like a savage barbarian. You have class. And there's nothing more classy than bringing the Hunted Horn, or HH. Hunted Horn hunters bring the tunes to the battle, supporting all in their party with temporary buffs. But should they be interrupted during one of their performances, these lads will kindly play their next melody on the monster's face. The Hunted Horn is probably the greatest victim of misuse. While described as a support weapon, you should not mistakenly believe your job is to do one or the other. Every attack the Hunted Horde has doubles as a note added to their musical staff. Chain or combo these bows together and you create a melody. Created melodies are added to your queue, up to 3 melodies. Performing these melodies provides yourself or the entire squad with buffs. Now here's where many newbie dancing tutors screw up at. Your performance of these melodies or buffs should not be done off at the sidelines. Your character isn't swinging this thing around for nothing. Performances are attacks too. By all means, rock out with your horn outs, but remember, face note is best note. You aren't a cheerleader, you're a battle bard. Play it smart though. If you're in danger during a performance, crack out a roll because you can't guard. The Hunted Horde is powerful but slow in attack speed and relied on positioning and careful timing. You may now resume YouTubing. Even the most fearsome of dragons should fear the Lance, or LNC. A bulky weapon with an even bulkier shield. I said we were getting into the heavyweight class, and I was not joking. With the Lance unsheathed, you're incapable of rolling, so your only form of defense is guarding with your shield. But the Lance's guard is the strongest in the game, capable of tanking even the most powerful of attacks. If you have even the slightest bit of doubt, hunker down in the Lance's power guard, and then retaliate with a counter thrust. The best way to describe the playstyle of a Lancer is an impenetrable fortress that quickly turns into an aggressive harasser or even rusher. On the offensive side, the Lance sports an array of far-reaching thrust and counterattacks even from behind its guard. Any monster will quickly realize it stands no chance versus the Lance, but if they should try to flee, the dash attack will quickly show them there's also no escape. The Lance is a bastion of defense and often impenetrable fortress, but never a coward. Guard when necessary, but don't let up in your attacks. If you've made a tank class in another game, or the thought of slamming a shield into the ground and being unfazed by the most brutal attacks brings a smile to your face, then you know what to try first. The Gunlance may look just like another lance to the inexperienced, but the deafening blast it produces will surely open their eyes. The Gunlance, or GL, is sometimes called the Fun Lance, and with good reason. Part lance, part freaking tank. Much like the Lance, the Gunlance comes with a massive shield that will prevent you from rolling with it unsheathed. Instead of thrust and pokes, the Gunlance's melee attacks consist of heavy, high damaging slashes with the full weight of the weapon. But I didn't call this thing part tank just for its defensive capabilities. Part of the Gunlance's weapon is also a vicious cannon with multiple forms of firing. The standard being a powerful shelling. How powerful? Let's just say it happens to be so powerful the blast will go through the defenses of any monster. Then there's the Wirate Stake, a piercing stake that explodes after some time, dealing multiple hits of damage. And if you think for a moment that it couldn't get any more insane, there's the Wirate Fire, a massive charged explosion sure to rearrange any monster's face for good. Keep in mind that the Shelling and Wirate Stake require reloading, while the Wyvern Fire has a length cooldown represented by the glowing red rail of the weapon. So yeah, part lance, part freaking tank. Superb damage and defense thanks to the guard, but this comes at the cost of mobility. Though with practice and proper management, you'll be a walking battalion. I don't think I need to say any more because if this is your weapon, you're probably already sold on it. Okay, now it's time for the freaking Transformers. Starting with everyone's favorite Charge Blade, or CB. Often regarded as the most complex of all weapons, the Charge Blade has a lot going on for it. Put simply, the Charge Blade has two forms. First is the Sword and Shield, a quick and nasty mode sporting fast attacks and a shield for guarding. This mode has a great balance of attack power, defense, and mobility. But if you're a madman, you can slam that shield into the sword to turn it into an axe. In axe form, you can expect to see greater damage and reach at the cost of speed and mobility. Here's where things get fun. Dealing damage with your sword stores energy into it. You can then dump this energy into files within your weapon. The axe then uses these files to blow out massive elemental damage via discharges. The complexity of this weapon comes from learning the movesets, management of sword energy, and the file system alongside the user difficulties of a monster fight. Though it may not be regarded as the most beginner-friendly weapon, learning the Charge Blade isn't impossible. Just know you will require some patience. Those typically interested in the Charge Blade don't mind if their weapon is a bit more challenging in the beginning. The depth gives them joy, and the true reward is in the mastery of this powerhouse. The second weapon of what I have stupidly proclaimed as Transformers is known by many names. Mostly it's called the Switch Axe or SA, but sometimes the Swax or Swag Axe. Like my good man Kirby once said, on paper, the Switch Axe and Charge Blade are identical. But in action, if you told me they shared a similar kit, I would not believe you. Switch Axe also comes with two forms, Axe being the more standard form. In Axe form, you'll have the benefit of great reach and mobility, but in Sword form, you'll gain extra damage and the bonus offered from the Switch Axe's foul. Unlike the Charge Blade, the Sword mode's foul charges automatically in Axe form should you deplete it. The Switch Axe's foul isn't just for a passive buff to the Sword mode though. You can also fire with an elemental discharge causing a high damage and explosion. Or if you happen to trigger the Sword's foul awakening state, you can go for a zero-sum discharge, staking your target with the Sword before letting off an even more massive and even more powerful explosion. You know that moment in a game where your attack is so powerful you have to press the button harder and harder? Or perhaps when you're taking down the final boss and the game prompts you to unrelentingly spam a button? That moment is the Switch Axe. Take caution with this monstrous weapon as its long combos can be exhausted on your stamina, and if you haven't noticed already, it doesn't come with a guard, so rolling and evasion is your best defense. We can now break into the ranged weapons, starting with the biggest and heftiest, the Heavy Bowgun, or HBG. The Heavy Bowgun is less of a gun and more like your own personal artillery, sniper, or even machine gun. With the farthest range of any of the ranged weapons, this gun can fire a multitude of specialized rounds from elementals to shotgun-like spreads or even cluster bombs. Each one is different in its own way, not just in damage or status, but also critical or optimal range. The versatility doesn't end there, as you can also modify your bowgun with attachments like a strong shield for blocking monster attacks. The Heavy Bowgun can also come equipped with one of two special ammo types. The first is the Wyvern Snipe. This will allow you to fire a single high-piercing shot, resulting in a series of explosions after a small delay. The second special ammo, called the Wyvern Heart, modifies the Heavy Bowgun to fire like a fully automatic machine gun. Each of the two have their own pros and cons. For example, the Wyvern Snipe is a great fire to forget ability, offering superb damage output on a bigger monster, while the Wyvern Heart is a steady stream of controlled damage best used on a monster's weaker points, where it can outshine even the Wyvern Snipe in damage numbers. Both of the two run on cooldowns, but only the Wyvern Snipe requires a full recharge before firing again. Though you can fire the Wyvern Heart with a low charge, you just won't have the full ammunition supply for the machine gun fire. Fans of Rambo, lovers of Michael Bay explosions, and just about any dude or dudette that loves big guns, this is for you. Remember, your ammo is limited and it will be work maintaining your stock, but that doesn't matter so long as you get to dump 100 rounds into a monster's face, right? Second of the ranged weapons is the Light Bowgun, or LBG. If you can't guess, this is the lighter version of the previous Heavy Bowgun. Choosing the Light Bowgun will reward you with greater mobility and a faster rate of fire when compared to the Heavy Bowgun. But there is a cost, as there always should be. When compared to the Heavy Bowgun, the Light Bowgun carries less ammo and has more recoil for the shots. You'll still see a nice spread of different ammo types just like with the Heavy Bowgun, but there'll be some new ones here, like the support of healing or even defense buffing shots. Now, this wouldn't be a bowgun if it didn't have its own special ammo. The Light Bowgun can fire up to 3 Wyvern Blasts. These planted charges can detonate several times, resulting in explosions whenever an enemy steps within proximity. But you can also cause these explosions by firing over the Wyvern Blast. It sounds simple in definition, but once you see the damage numbers fly, you realize how powerful it is. The mobility when compared to the Heavy Bowgun is something you'll feel immediately, as you're able to now sidestep and even slide after your shots. Like any ranged weapon, be mindful of your optimal range so you're not wasting ammo and missed out on damage. One thing to keep in mind is that your crosshairs always turn orange when you're in optimal range. Just like the bowgun, ammo is limited and you can upgrade the Light Bowgun via modifications. If you're a lover of the Heavy Bowgun but require greater mobility, then the Light Bowgun is exactly what you're looking for. But honestly, it wouldn't be such a bad idea to take up both the Heavy and Light Bowguns. After all, there's no law saying you can't have 2 guns. Last, and certainly not least, is my bay, the bow. Lightest among the ranged weapons, the bow is best at mid-range with its quick rate of fire. With little to no weight, you can take advantage of the bow's mobility to find and pick at the monster's softer spots. Shots can either be charged or fired in rapid succession for higher damage. The bow even has an enhanced dodge called the Charged Sidestep. Use it to both evade and power up your shots. Alternatively, you can respond with wide spread shots or even arc shots capable of raining barbs on your target. But when it comes to all-out damage, your Charged Dragon Piercer will shred through any monster from head to tail. Fortunately for us bow users, arrows are unlimited in supply. You can even use consumable coatings on these arrows to give them unique properties like inflicting sleep, poison, or paralyzing status effects. Be wary of the supply though, as you are limited in your coatings, and should you run out while in the fields, you'll need to craft more via herbs scattered across the map. Just like the bowgun, the bow has an optimal range that should be taken into consideration with its varying shots and coatings. This often leaves you closer to the monster than any other ranged weapon. If that doesn't scare you away, then you'll make a fine archer. Those certain to love the bow have likely enjoyed using bows in games like Far Cry, Dragon's Dogma, or Horizon Zero Dawn. If so, then join me, my brothers and sisters, because this bow is one of the best, even when compared to those games. And that's all 14 of Monster Hunter World's weapons. There's one for everyone, no matter your playstyle. In fact, there's likely more than one. Don't worry. Think of Monster Hunter weapons like characters in a fighting game. Each one is unique, even though it may share characteristics with another one. But there's nothing wrong in playing with more than one weapon. The idea of a main should be nothing more than your favorites. The bow is my main, and I swear by this lovely thing. But honestly, I plan on playing with every weapon in Monster Hunter Worlds. Just some more than others. Remember guys and girls, there's more than enough monsters for all of your weapons. If you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe for more Monster Hunter content, or check out my Mixer channel for Monster Hunter live streams. For any questions or tips, feel free to drop them down in the comment section below. Remember, we're all hunters here. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.